webinar this afternoon. This is the place that you're going to hear a lot about what we can do for businesses. I know you've probably heard the old adage, you know, we're from the government and we're here to help. Well, guess what? We really are. And I hope that after our webinar, you can really understand some of the ways that we can help your business. So Scott, why don't we get started? So first up, a little bit of the MassHire Employee Resources webinar. Please stay muted so all participants can hear the presentation. We'll answer any questions at the end of the workshop, and type any questions that you have in the chat function in the WebEx by selecting the chat button in the lower right-hand corner. Thank you. So MassHire, what is MassHire? MassHire is probably that thing that everyone says we wish you knew about, and we're going to try and inform you of all the different programs that we have out there. MassHire can help you recruit, hire, and train staff. We can help recruit and hire. We have recruitment and hire services, virtual job fairs, support for employees, including training and retraining. MassHire can also help your business grow and evolve. We can access training processes, improvements, support, access to grants and tax incentives, participate in the Workshare program, which is one program that we're going to highlight today through Lee Glasser, and overview of the Rapid Response program. The MassHire system is made up of a lot of individual parts. We have the MassHire One-Stop Career Centers, 25 of those located throughout the state of Massachusetts. We have the Rapid Response team that actually goes out and handles plant closing and layoffs up front and tries to avert layoffs as well. We also have the BizWorks program that we're really going to highlight today to talk about a lot of the different programs that BizWorks has to try and help your company throughout its business cycle. So why don't we click to the next slide, Scott? So when we're talking about understanding a company's needs, we really believe in understanding the company's business cycle. I have to tell you that I'm very excited about a meeting that we just had today out at Boston Senior Home Care. We met with Debbie Hilton Creek, the HR manager, and we sat down and we listened and we talked about, you know, how Boston Senior Home Care helps people and what they exactly do. By listening to that company and listening to the different the offerings that that company has and services that that business has, we could look at the peaks and valleys in their business cycle and talk about a lot of the programs that we had to offer. I'm happy to mention that we actually pulled out a couple of programs right away from that first meeting. We're actually going to be connecting them to the Workforce Training Fund program so they can avail themselves of an incumbent worker training program. And we're going to look at the safety grant program to help make the company a lot safer. So we're talking about really understanding the business cycle. And in most cases, the best way that we do this is by coming out to your company and having an in-person meeting. We actually took a tour of the business and looked at all the different programs that they had going on and really talked with how our BizWorks programs, MassHire business programs, could actually best help Boston Senior Home Care. Okay, why don't we click on? So we talk about the MassHire One-Stop Career Centers. It's really the place to go when you're talking about recruiting, hiring, and training employees that you need. So we're talking about testing and assessment and pre-screening of the candidates for you. We're talking about hiring job seekers from a key talent pipelines. And those pipelines can come from many different ways. Number one, it can come from any of the community colleges or the training institutions we have. It can also come from us working with companies with rapid response prior to the layoff actually happening. Many times we actually connect those businesses before a layoff happens with a healthy business that's growing. And that's really the way you want to get candidates right away before they've even collected any unemployment, going right to your business and working for you. We can host a virtual job fair. We have many different examples of how these job fairs have been working, but the best one, I think, is the one that we're going to highlight a little later on in the presentation about our week-long job fair, where we had over 1,600 employers and over 12,000 employees that we matched through our premier job fair platform. Posting jobs and access to quality candidates is very easy with the MassHire system. We can hook you up with our job quest system so that you can post any of your jobs throughout the state of Massachusetts, and all 25 one-stop career centers will actually get your postings and gives you a much wider scope and a much better opportunity of getting that key person that you need for your particular job. Access for training grants for employees. We're talking about a lot of possibilities here, folks. When you hire someone from the MassHire career centers, you can get different types of grants out there. We're talking the Work Opportunity Tax Credit Program. So if you were to hire a veteran or a disabled vet, you can get up to $9,600 in tax credits for that particular person. You can take advantage of our federal on-the-job training program, where you can actually access funding that would pay for the salaries of that individuals up to 75% for a 6-month period while they're training at your particular company your way. There are many different things that we can do to try and help. And those are just a couple of those that we can help you with in connecting some of the different programs. One of the best programs that we have is the apprenticeship program. You're talking about something that really helps your employees. Think about a career ladder at your particular company. Our apprenticeship program is really key to helping individuals understand that they have growth in the company. Call MassHire One Stop Career Center and let us connect you with any of these different services. Access to job seekers with relevant experience. As I mentioned to you, we're handling all the plant closures and layoffs in the state of Massachusetts and matching those with healthy companies. So you have people that have fresh skills in many of those different industries, whether it's manufacturing, retail, the food service industry, you name it, we have it. We can connect them to your needs. Okay, Scott? So when you're talking about that really big job fair that we had, it was September 16th throughout that whole week, we had 1,600 employees that attended, over 12,000 job seekers that attended, 20,000 resumes were submitted, and 24,000 chats were held between the employer and the job seeker. So just think about it. You actually had an opportunity to face-to-face with the perfect candidate. It might be that perfect person that you're looking for your particular opening. So think about the MassHire Career Centers, and we can hook you up with that premier platform that can help you do just that. Okay, Scott? So post your job openings on the MassHire Job Quest system. As I said, it's very easy to do. The best thing that we can do is connect you to one of our MassHire professionals or business services reps at the 25 one-stop career centers. We're going to show you and give you access to the Mass BizWorks resource guide that actually has all of the information on all of these different programs, including contact information, so that when you call a one-stop career center, you'll know who you're talking to. When you call one of these different programs, whether it's a workforce training fund, a safety grant, you name it, the contacts are all there in your Mass resource, in your BizWorks resource guide. Okay, Scott? So access to training grants, cost sharings, and training incentives for your workforce. You know, we're talking about cost sharing for on-the-job training. I mentioned that before, up to 75% for 6 months, a 6-month period while people are learning your way. The registered apprenticeship program, you know, show your employees that you care. Show them that there's a career ladder. Show them that there's some growth potential in your particular company. Access to tax credits, incentives for hiring targeted groups. Well, we talked a little bit about the Work Opportunity Tax Credit Program. Who doesn't want to hire a veteran and a disabled veteran? And why not get $9,600 as a tax, up to $9,600 as a tax credit to help that person, to help your company along the way? Access to training grants and programs, support and retain existing workers. We're talking about programs that the Mass Office of Business Development offers. The Mass Office of Business Development offers the Economic Development Improvement Program, which actually offers incentives for companies to grow. And when they're offering an incentive to companies to grow, they actually offer a tax incentive that's actually held to the number of employees that they're going to hire for that particular company. So if they're growing and they're hiring on 125 employees, that's a huge benefit for the state of Massachusetts as well as the company, and you're getting a tax credit for it. So why not do that? They've actually got a great program out there now too called the Vacant Storefront Program. The Vacant Storefront Program allows businesses that want to start a business in a vacant storefront to receive a grant as well too. So there's a lot of help out there for businesses. We just ask you to let us help you. We're going to give you a 1-800 number by the time this presentation is over, and hope that you'll call that 1-800 number for an in-person meeting or a virtual meeting with one of the BizWorks professionals. Thank you, Scott. So MassHire can help your company grow, evolve, even through tough moments. Access to process improvement and training support. Access to grants and tax incentives. We've talked about a lot of this. One-on-one support in times of downsizing if needed. The Rapid Response Team is a federally funded program that assists businesses that are going through downsizings and layoffs. The first thing that we do when we come out to a company is to talk about that company about possibly averting a layoff from happening. Yes, I did say that, averting a layoff from happening. We do that quite a bit. One of the ways that we've actually helped companies avert layoffs is through the WorkShare program, which Lee's going to tell you a little bit more about later on in the program. But I can tell you one thing, there's a number of ways that we've helped businesses actually survive in the state of Massachusetts, and layoff aversion is one of the biggest ways. Participate in the WorkShare program. I'm going to leave that up to Lee later on, but as I told you, we've used the WorkShare program to avert layoffs in the state of Massachusetts for over 30 years right now. We've saved a lot of businesses. We've saved a lot of employees from actually being laid off, and now you can actually use it to hire people and bring them on. Okay, Scott. So we'll talk about some of the different programs that we've mentioned and some of the examples that we have. Panadosi Bread Company received the Workforce Training Fund grant. When they're talking about what did the grant actually was made up of, it was to make the company more productive and more reactive, increase collaboration, is to operate more efficiently, to minimize communication and breakdown. And the end result in that, well, geez, look at this. Reduce raw material waste by 25%, reduce complaints and product freshness from 49 to 3. Promoted 8 employees. There's your career ladder, folks. Record-setting safety results. This is all positive stuff for your business, folks. Why don't we go on, Scott? So a couple more examples that we have out there for business expansion. A food processing company needed help for acquiring a new processing facility. So BizWorks helped the company to match with the Economic Development Incentive Program, as I just mentioned before, and received a tax incentive to fund the investment of the new plant. The new plant and company will create 125 new jobs in this facility, not to mention how many jobs that they're keeping and retaining in the state of Massachusetts by being able to expand in Massachusetts. Another example from the Workforce Training Fund here is a home health care company needed to train and certify nurses in mental health, nursing, wound care, and quality control. So the company received $68,000 to train all eligible nurses in their particular company. This is really investing in your business, folks. It's helping making your folks smarter, better at what they do. And the end result is that it ends up in your return on investment for that particular business. Okay, Scott? So rapid response, as I mentioned, rapid response is something that I've been working on for 30 years now, a little over 30 years. And I can tell you right now, it's one of the better things that we can do, and the more self-satisfying things that you can do is when you help a company through a layoff situation. When you're talking about a company going through a layoff or closing, that's not something that a business wants to do. It's a tough thing to go through. Why go through it on your own? Why not let us help you? There's a lot of things that we can do, we can bring to the table that'll help your company through this terrible situation. And many times we're told by the people that are actually being laid off is, we're glad you were there. You helped us find direction to our next particular job, or you even averted the layoff at our particular company. And from the HR perspective, you helped us through a really tough process. Nobody at a company wants to have to lay people off. But when we can help those people either find a new job or find a new career or find a new way not to lay people off at all, it's a big boom for that particular company. So the Rapid Response Program is the place to go when we're helping people through tough times in the business cycle. Okay, Scott. So what is WorkShare? I'm going to hand it over to Lee. Lee, take it away, buddy. Okay.
Oh, good morning. Good afternoon. Sorry about that. My name, I had a little mute problem there. It took me a second to get unmuted. My name is Lee Glasser. I am the administrator of the Workshare program, as Ken said, here at the Mass Department of Unemployment Assistance. I'm part of what we call the integration unit, which is a program that works towards integrating and connecting the Department of Career Services and MassHire with the Department of Unemployment Assistance. Ken and I have worked together for many years. As he said, his organization often goes out to businesses to discuss the various strategies and options that are available. We've had attendance in our staff and myself and others in the Workshare unit as well. What Workshare is for is designed to either prevent a potential layoff or to bring back workers from a layoff or to rehire. We don't want empty positions, and we want to minimize the amount of individuals who are actively collecting on full unemployment, because we found the best way to keep a job is to have a job. The best way to retain employment is to stay connected to the workforce. So what Workshare does is it allows for two-pronged options. Employers can utilize it for either or both of these scenarios. The first scenario, what we have called traditional layoff, is employers who are facing downsizing, either due to a decline in their economic conditions, a decline in work product, downstream effects, say a supplier is no longer supplying enough materials to keep work impacted, the business is dwindling, has a temporary downturn due to COVID-19 or any other scenario. They're looking at reducing payroll, and they're going to do so via layoffs. What Workshare does, what we do, is allow the employer to spread this reduction across their workforce to avoid or reduce the amount of individuals who are going to be fully laid off and fully disconnected from their employment. To give you an example, let's say an employer has 5 staff and they need to cut their payroll by 20%. The traditional normal means to do that would, of course, lay off one of their staff members. So they've cut 20% of their payroll by laying off one individual. That individual is now fully unemployed. What Workshare does is say, don't do that. Don't lay him off. Don't lay this one worker off. Don't lay her off. Take this reduction, take this 20% cut that you need to make and spread it across your workers. So instead of having 5 people and you lay one off, you could take all 5 of those individuals and cut each of them 20%. Maybe you close Fridays. Maybe each one of them has a day off. Maybe it alternates which day that is. Maybe it's static. Regardless, you've taken this 20% need to reduce payroll and spread it across your workforce. What Workshare does in that instance is we come in and we compensate for some of those lost hours and some of that lost pay. The flip scenario is when the employer may be looking to bring back or hire new staff, but does not yet have full-time available work for them. Or maybe only has one position, but wants to spread that position across multiple staff members. Let's say you've laid off 4 people and your work is picking up. Business is connecting again. Your suppliers are resupplying faster. More and more people are being vaccinated. More and more people are going outside. Maybe you're a service industry, a restaurant or a bar, a movie theater. More and more of your population base, your customer base is returning to your business. So let's say you've laid 4 people off and you have enough work to bring back 2 of them. The normal reaction would be to rehire 2 or to hire 2 new people. What Workshare says is you can actually hire all 4 back, or you could fill all 4 of those positions at halftime. So instead of bringing 2 people at 100%, you bring 4 at 50. And again, Workshare continues to pay some of those lost hours in terms of compensation. Now, I know some of you are thinking, why would I do that? Why not just lay them off? Well, we have done multiple studies, multiple surveys, multiple analyses, and everything that we have shown, every test that we have done, every study that we have conducted, has shown that utilizing Workshare in lieu of layoffs has 2 dramatic impacts on the employer and the work environment. First, it improves morale. Although no one wants to lose work and no one wants to lose money, we have found that utilizing Workshare to spread this reduction around and avoid layoffs improves morale because there are no fears of further cuts. No one is wondering who's it going to be that's going to get laid off. No one is maybe looking outside, having one foot out the door, looking for another position in fear of it. We've found that retention is higher. We have found that morale is higher. And the big one, the one that's always interesting to every employer who I talk to, is in the long term and a long-term use, Workshare is a cost-saving measure and cost reduction measure in the long term. And here's why. Let's say again, you need to cut your staff by 20%. You could either lay off 20% of your staff or put 100% of your staff on a 20% reduction or any other combination therein. If you utilize Workshare, you keep your staff connected with you. So what's that mean? Well, that means when you're ready to go back to full work, when you're ready to go back to full payroll, they still work there. And it's as simple as turning off your Workshare plan and putting everyone back to full time. Everyone goes back to full time. Everyone is still trained. Everyone you still know and value as your employee are still connected to you as the employer, ready and willing to go back to full time on a moment's notice. But instead, if you utilize layoffs, well, that worker might not be there when you're ready to hire them back, right? They may have found another job. They may have moved. They may have decided to stay home and raise their children. They may have chosen to retire. They may have chosen to leave the industry or go back to school. They could have done 100 different things. That means that that worker that you have invested in, that you have trained, that you have put time and money into getting them skilled in their job is no longer available for you to come back to you. Which means what do you got to do? Well, you got to hire someone new, right? And there's costs to that. You may use a third-party hiring agency. You have to pay their fee. There's time and management and interviewers and HR that all gets taken away from their normal business to interview new candidates and make hiring decisions. If you utilize background checks for your industry, there's a cost to those every time. When you bring them in, you have to have training. Training costs money. People who are new make mistakes. Mistakes cost money. And what are you doing when you're still trying to fill that position? You're probably paying overtime to your existing staff. So you could lay one person off, and then when you're ready to hire them back, they're gone. And you got to hire someone new. You got to train someone new. You got to pay overtime to fill that spot while you're doing all that and all of these costs. But if you do Workshare, morale stays high. And when you're ready to go back to work full time, everyone is there, and you simply remove them from the Workshare plan and put them back to full time. So we're going to talk a little bit more about how this works on a function if we can get the next slide. So this is a brief chart of sort of a graphic of how this works. As we said, Workshare is an unemployment program. It requires eligible unemployment claims, which means if they are not currently collecting unemployment and you're hiring them back on the first week of your unemployment plan, on the first week of your Workshare plan, they will be required, each individual, to file an unemployment claim if they don't already have one. When they file a claim, they will be assessed what we call a weekly benefit rate. That benefit rate is the amount that they would receive if they were fully unemployed. Instead of receiving that amount because they're not fully unemployed, they're connected with you still, they're working to some degree. You create Workshare plans. You decide the percentage of the reduction of those plans. That reduction could be as low as 10%, which is basically, 4 hours off of a full-time week schedule a week, or as deep as a 60% cut, which is going from 5 days to 2. You decide your plans. You decide the percentage of each plan. You decide who is going to be reduced by each percentage. You can have one, you can have multiple. Anywhere from 10 to 60%. An individual enrolled in those plans continues to work at their reduced schedule, receiving their prorated pay. They also receive a percentage of their unemployment benefits equal to a percentage of their reduction. So let's say you take an individual and they file an unemployment claim and are determined to receive on a weekly rate a $500 a week benefit rate. That would be $500 a week if they were fully unemployed. But they aren't. They're in a 20% Workshare plan. So while on Workshare, on that 20% plan that you've put them in, they continue to receive 80% of their pay from you and 20% of their unemployment benefits. If their benefit rate would be $500, they would receive 20% of that, or $100 a week. We always get asked, does it make them whole? How much does it pay? There's a long answer and a short answer. The long answer is we can't tell you exactly how much they're going to receive and how much of their lost earnings they're going to recoup, because each individual has to file their unemployment claim, and each individual gets their own unique benefit rate based on their own prior work history. What we can say as a general rule of thumb, for individuals who are compensated gross less than $1,700 a week at their job with you, Workshare typically and customarily, as a rule of thumb, allows them to recoup roughly half of the lost earnings. Now, again, that could be less, that could be more, but generally, based on the way the math works, for individuals making less than $1,700 a week, they recoup typically about half of their lost benefits. Can we get the next slide? Now, as we said, Workshare is a flexible system in many ways. You can create as many of these plans as you want. You can have one group of staff reduced 40%. You can have another group, maybe your best workers, the ones you really want to keep as working as full as possible. You can have them reduced maybe even as low as 10%. You can have as many of these plans as you want, but the only thing that I care about as the administrator of Workshare, who runs this program, the only things I care about are three main rules. First, every plan you create, every one, has to have a minimum of 2 participants in each and every week. So no matter how many plans you create, you cannot have a plan of just one person. Every plan has to have at least 2 people in it at all time. They don't necessarily have to be the same 2 people the whole time, but it has to be at least 2 each and every week. Second, everyone contained within a plan is reduced by the same percentage. Plans are defined by their percentages. So you can have a 20% plan, a 30, a 50, a 60% plan reductions. You can have as many of those as you want, at any whole number of percent between 10 and 60. But whatever plan you create, everyone in that plan has to be at the same reduction. So if you have a 20% plan, everyone in that plan that you have listed in that plan must be reduced by 20%. And again, you can have as many different plans at different percentages as you want. And the third and final thing is, by law, no single Workshare plan can last longer than 1 year. But that is on a plan-by-plan basis. If hearing this, you decide to start a Workshare plan in October and come around October 2022, you're still in need, we can set you up with a second plan, a new one. We just can't make any single plan longer than 1 year long. While on Workshare, the normal and customary rules for unemployment are suspended for your Workshare participating employees. They do not have to look for work. They do not have to perform work search logs. They do not have to do those things that normally they would have to do if they were collecting unemployment. Their only requirement is to work the schedule of hours according to their Workshare plan and be available to resume full-time work if should full-time work be available to them. The employer, not the claimant, not your individual staff, but you as the employer are responsible for certifying each week on your Workshare plan. And when I say certify, I want to talk a little bit about what I'm talking about. Workshare, for all its flexibilities, is a strict compliance plan. When that plan is created, you input the normal and customary hours of your staff or the position that that person is going to occupy. You create the percentage reduction of the plan. Our system then does the math and calculates what their Workshare hours are. So if you put a 40-hour a week worker who normally and customarily works 40 hours a week, or is being hired into a position that is normally 40 hours a week, and you put them in a 20% plan, our system is going to reduce that 40 by 20%, and it's going to generate their Workshare hours. Based on that math, it would be 32. So in this scenario, 40-hour a week worker reduced by 20%, their Workshare target is now 32 hours. That is a strict compliance. We do not prorate, we do not sliding scale. That individual must work or otherwise be compensated for 32 hours in each week. We allow the counting of sick time, vacation time, personal time, holiday, any kind of PTO or actual work performed that gets them to those 32 hours. No more, no less. If they are 31 hours, they are denied for those benefits entirely for that week. If they're 33 hours, they are denied for benefits entirely for that week. Anyone who fails to meet the target in a given week, that individual is denied for that week and receives no benefits from us. Habitual patterns of non-compliance If you have multiple people who are not complying with the schedule each and every week, you and I might have to have a conversation about how we're going to get this plan in compliance. Single instances, while they will deny that person for that week, we don't overly penalize the employer for single variances or occasional noncompliance. We cannot pay the individual for noncompliance, but we won't jeopardize your plan for it. But if we start seeing patterns in habitual noncompliance across multiple people for multiple weeks, we may have to have a conversation about how to bring your plan back into compliance. Employees, those on WorkShare, are not required, like regular unemployment, to claim benefits on their own. That is done entirely by the employer, who literally goes in and inputs how many hours that person worked. Our system calculates and determines if they met the requirements for WorkShare, and if so, they are paid. If not, they are denied. May I have the next slide? So some of you might be familiar with partial unemployment. That's what we normally call an individual who is unemployed and still working to some degree and still able to collect unemployment benefits. I'm sure you're thinking, well, how is this not partial unemployment? Or I'm just going to have my staff file for partial unemployment, or even how is this even ever different? The answer is regular partial unemployment is basically regular unemployment where an individual has some degree of earnings. But I will say that regular partial unemployment, not WorkShare here, but regular partial unemployment heavily penalizes earnings above a low threshold. Individuals who attempt to collect regular partial unemployment typically will not qualify, or will qualify for substantially less than they would on WorkShare. As a general rule, an individual has to be reduced by at least 35% before they even qualify for any partial benefits at all under regular partial unemployment. And even at that threshold, it would be very, very low. Our most common WorkShare percentages range between the 10 and 30% reductions. So at those cuts, we are not even talking at a level that anyone would even qualify for regular partial unemployment. And even the deeper cuts, 40, 50, or 60% reductions, the way the math works, WorkShare still is a better option. Partial unemployment by itself does not become more economically viable until below 60% cuts. So less, going from 5 to less than 2 days a week. At those deep, deep reductions, regular partial unemployment does become more viable for the individual. And that's why WorkShare only goes to 60%. Below that, they are better off typically collecting partial unemployment. Additionally, while on partial unemployment, they're considered unemployed on regular unemployment. They are required to look for full-time work for entities other than you. In order to continue to collect regular partial unemployment, not WorkShare here, but regular employment, even if they qualified, they'd still have to maintain an active work search. They'd still have to go on interviews, apply for jobs, and look for full-time employment. WorkShare does not require that. They don't need to look for anything. They just need to enjoy their day off, or however many days off they get on the unemployment program, on the WorkShare program, and be ready to resume full-time work without delay. So if 1 week you're ready to begin full-time employment, the next week they need to be able and ready for full-time employment. They don't need to look for work. They don't need to go on job interviews. They don't need to apply for jobs. They don't even need to claim their own benefits. As we said, employees will receive, is in addition to their prorated pay with you, so someone who's on a 20% reduction would still continue to receive 80% of their pay. They'd receive 20% of their unemployment benefits. They also would receive a prorated dependency allowance for every qualified dependent. The dependency allowance is $25 per week multiplied by the reduction. So someone on a 20% plan would receive 20% of $25 or $5 for each eligible dependent each week. So an individual on a 20% plan who had 2 eligible dependents would receive an additional $10 a week. WorkShare benefits, when we talk about paid, are by check. Physical, old school, paper check mailed to the mailing address listed on each individual's unemployment claim. When they file their claim, or if they've had an existing claim, they may have selected an option for direct deposit or a debit card. And we get questions on this all the time. Why did I get a check? I said direct deposit. It's because Workshare will override whatever that selection is and mail a check. The checks are mailed, provided there is no issue, on the business day following your certification. The vast majority of our employers certify on a Monday. Checks typically mail out on Tuesday. About 85% of our Workshare checks mail out every Tuesday morning. About 10% mail out on Monday mornings because some employers like to get it in on Sundays. And the rest sort of sporadic throughout the day. But as long as you claim regularly each day of the week, then the check should arrive pretty consistently on the same day of the week, 2 to 3 business days later. No one is required to participate in Workshare. They don't have to participate in the program. They don't have to file an unemployment claim. Some employees may have vacation time they wish to use to fill the gaps. You may want to allow that. Some simply just choose not to participate at all. They don't have to. But anyone who does not participate and does not file an unemployment claim will not receive the additional Workshare benefits. One final perk for the employee, the claimant. If you participate in Workshare, you are legally required to certify to us that you will make no changes in the health or retirement benefits of your staff and will continue to treat them as if they are working their normal and customary schedule for the purposes of health and retirement benefits. So, for example, if you offer health insurance only to your 40-hour-a-week workers and you've reduced your 40-hour weeks by 25%, bringing them down to 30, you cannot decline to offer them the insurance because they are no longer 40-hour-a-week workers. You must continue to treat them as if they are working their normal and customary hours or the normal and customary hours for the position for the purposes of their health and retirement benefits. In terms of the unemployment claims, if they are currently unemployed and still collecting unemployment, their unemployment claims will automatically convert to a Workshare claim the first week of your plan. If they do not have a claim, if they are not collecting unemployment, they must file an unemployment claim in the first week, and that claim will then be automatically converted to Workshare because they are included on your Workshare plan. One thing to stress, employers get confused on this, and I want to put some emphasis on it. An unemployment claim lasts 52 weeks. That 52 weeks is independent of and totally separate from the duration of your Workshare plan. So if you have staff that have been unemployed for maybe a month or 2 or 3 months and they have been collecting, you bring them back to Workshare, the 52-week period on their unemployment claims has already started. So just because you're enrolled on Workshare does not mean their claims will not expire. Anyone you bring into Workshare who has been collecting or has collected unemployment within the last year should review their unemployment claims and be aware of their expiration dates. They can do that either through or normal customer service line or through their own online account. If the claim expires during Workshare, their benefits will cease unless they immediately file a new claim. We can go on to the next slide.
So Liz, I know that there was a question in the chat. Do you want me to take that? Because I know Chuck had answered some of that, but I've got a great example for our guest on the line today. And that is,
that would be great, Ken, if you can speak about nonprofit support.
Great. Thank you very much, Liz. So this is actually a very timely question, to tell you the truth, because as I mentioned, we were just out at Boston Senior Home Care, and they happen to be a nonprofit as we speak. We went out there and started talking about the BizWorks programs, and we're going over all the different offerings. And when they mentioned that they were a nonprofit, luckily I had one of my staff members, Chuck Bennett, with me, who actually used to work in that division. And, we used to work for a third party also that would connect those companies. And we were able to talk them through the situation. And lo and behold, even though that they are a nonprofit, they are eligible for all the different programs that BizWorks has. Conversely, we were out at the Children's Museum, and we were out at another company 2 weeks ago, and they are nonprofits. And unfortunately, in those particular cases, they're eligible for just some of the different programs. But that's why I highlight the fact that we want to come out individually, whether you want us virtually or in person. In person really helps us. Call the 1-800-252-1591 number. Chuck Bennett actually mans those calls coming in, and we divvy them up through the BizWorks professionals throughout the state. We're going to come out and we can sit down and talk to you through any of the different programs that we have. And just think about it. We're desperately trying to help companies grow in the state of Massachusetts, but to the tune of a $250,000 incumbent worker training grant, a $25,000 safety grant in this day and age when everyone's thinking of safety, and all the other programs that we have to offer. We really feel from the state of Massachusetts that businesses should be utilizing all these different services. So please give us a call. And before you call us, take a look at the BizWorks resource guide. All you have to do is go to mass.gov/BizWorks and scroll down to the resource guide, and you can see all the different programs. It's right there in the QR code. Thank you very much. And when you click on that, you're going to see a world of programs that you probably didn't know existed, talking about all these different programs. And quite frankly, many of these different programs you've already paid for. So please, from the state of Massachusetts, from MassHire, use the programs we have. We want to see businesses grow in Massachusetts. Thank you.
On the subject of nonprofits for Workshare, this leads to a question that we do get asked a lot, so I'm going to elaborate a little on that. Workshare benefits, the benefits we pay Workshare claimants, are unemployment benefits. So nonprofits, those that do not pay the unemployment tax, are eligible to participate. But if you are a reimbursable or chargeable employer, which means that you pay the state back for all of the unemployment benefits we pay in lieu of a payroll tax. If you are that kind of reimbursable employer, you will be billed all of the same Workshare benefits that are paid, just as you would be billed regular unemployment benefits paid. This is also affecting contributory employers as well, those who pay the payroll tax. Workshare benefits are unemployment benefits. Your tax rate will be assessed the same for those benefits, dollar for dollar, just as it would if you were paying unemployment benefits. I want to just add a little bit to that because we do get asked this question a lot, so I wanted to add this to the recording.
It's very importantly, like I said, it was really beneficial to be sitting right across the table from the employer and having Chuck there, quite honestly, where Chuck has an expertise in this as well. And we were able to go through all the different parts of whether they paid or not paid and all that with the employer. And it was really helpful for the employer to understand that and for us to understand it too. So that's why I say it really, again, individually, talking with businesses about these different programs and how they can help your company can benefit your company greatly. Thank you.
And this is a point too that when we talk about Workshare, when we go out to talk about Workshare with employers, we generally do not stress Workshare as an unemployment cost reduction. And that is because, let's go back to the scenario that I mentioned, you need to lay off 20% of your staff or you need to cut payroll by 20%. If you're laying off 20% of your staff, that staff is going and collecting unemployment, and you're either going to be billed for it or you're going to have your charges impact. If you have Workshare, then you have more people collecting, but they're collecting less. As a general rule, we have found if you're a contributory employer, the tax rate charges, if you're a reimbursable employer, the quarterly charge statements, there's not a whole lot of benefit or drawback from Workshare versus laying off. As a general rule, the amount of benefits being paid remains roughly the same, and the amount of charges to you either on your contribution rate or your reimbursable charge statements remains about the same. So while yes, these benefits are unemployment benefits, and you will be charged for them either on your tax rate or your employer statement, that is also true if you pursued layoffs. So in that sense, we have found it generally is about the same if you're looking at one option over the other in that term.
Great. Ken and Lee, I didn't see any other questions come through in the chat. So unless folks want to pop those in now, I think we might be able to wrap up for today.
Sounds good. Thank you very much, Liz.
And to the last slide, if you are interested in applying for WorkShare, our application is found at mass.gov/workshare. You will need access to your employer UI Online account. Our application is all online, and our application is very, very simple. It's just a few questions. It's one page. The only time constraint is the time it takes you to input your staff. If you have a 5-person plan, it can take you a few minutes. You have a 500-person plan, might take you longer. If you have any questions about the WorkShare program, please feel free to call us at the 5521 number or email workshare@detmar.org. My staff monitors both of those. If you have any questions about anything else that Ken talked about, training, grants, veteran hiring, you can go to mass.gov/bizworks or call the 1-800-252-1591 number.
Great. And it actually looks like we have one last question, most likely for Ken. Jennifer is hoping to learn a little bit more about trainings that they offer or if there's grants available for training.
Yep. I'd speak to Jennifer. Can we open the mic for Jennifer? Could we do that?
Yes, give me a moment, Ken.
Sure.
It's Jennifer. I think, Jennifer, can you try to see if your mic is working? Oh, I have been the wrong.
Jen?
I'm not sure if I.
Well, let me answer it, and what I'll answer it with what I always say. Jen would love to come out and meet with you in person, so I'd love to get your contact information. If it's in the participant listing, we're going to get it, and we're going to call you and come out to meet with you. You know, there definitely is training offered, and there are training grants available for the businesses, and we can talk about the nonprofit situation if you fall into that particular category. But when we're talking about training, you know, we're talking about incumbent worker training grants for the people that are working for your company presently of up to $250,000. And there are all different types of grants that fit into that incumbent worker training category. When you're talking about hiring folks, there are grants available for that too. As I mentioned, the on-the-job training grant is a very popular one. It's a federal grant that comes down and can pay a large portion of the salary of those individuals while they're learning and training in your particular company, which I think is beneficial because folks can come out of a training institution, but when they go to your company, you're going to train them your way anyway. So why not take advantage of the on-the-job training program? When you're talking about the Work Opportunity Tax Credit Program, that's even another program that if you're hiring a veteran or a disabled vet or folks from different categories, you might be able to receive up to $9,600 in tax credits for those particular people. The thing you have to remember about the Work Opportunity Tax Credit Program is you have to know prior to hiring those people. That's why I say that it's so important for us to get out and meet with these companies, with all your companies. I've heard there's 25 companies on the participant list. I'd love to have 25 companies to go out and visit with our staff, and we'll definitely help you and connect you with all the different programs. But yes, there's a whole host of training programs and grants out there available. And then there are actually grants out there or tax credits that can actually help your company grow. And we can connect you to all of them. Let us come out and sit down with you, and we can set up all those sessions that'll really result in all of the services for you.
Great. I think that's officially our last question. Thanks so much to everyone for joining, and really hope you reach out to Ken and Lee to learn more about how they can support your business.
Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.